like I did like a sort of post for Doctor Who's 58th anniversary the other day, Bradley, and it was like a little sort of couple of paragraphs about how much I enjoyed the show, and at the end I put, since we all enjoy it so much, here's a video of us talking about how much.
Oh, see, look, Lawrence. Yeah, I know. You sharing? I do want to know.
Sweet.
How's Doctor Who been?
Decentish.
Yeah, actually, first episode was all right, if a bit confusing.
I enjoyed it more on a rewatch.
Yeah, the second one the Santarans.
Santaha, yeah. Oh,
second one was the Santarans. That one was excellent. Once Upon Time, which was the third episode, was really sort of. Lawrence hated it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah, but you're fine. If you're saying fine, it's shit.
But then this last one, the fourth one,
fantastic.
Excellent.
So 2 out of 4. We've got a 50% win rate so far.
Like we said, the way it works with Jodie, she's got 2 left of her main series. Then there's a New Year's special, there'll be an Easter special, and then there's the BBC's Centenary special, which is her regeneration. And then the one after that will be the 60th anniversary, where Russell T comes back and saves us all, and Bad Wolf start producing the show, and everything will be back to the golden age.
But you said these last episodes have been great, though.
Yeah, they have been. Doesn't mean an entire run has been.
But if it was all like this,
which it bloody should have been from the start.
So you've literally answered my question. If it was all like this, her series would have been fantastic, though.
I haven't had any problems. This and the Sontaran episode a couple of weeks back represent the level of quality that should have always been there.
There's never been an episode of New Who that I've hated. There's some I like less than others. Like the what one is it? What's the one with the Pating?
Saranga Conundrum.
That one, that one's whatever. It's fine. It's not the best one. One of my favourite ones of Jodie's run is still Rosa. Spyfall's good.
I think for Jodie's era, it's very crystal clear which are her best episodes. Like with other Doctors, like with Tennant, for example, there are, the obvious choices, but it's more consistently good with him. Whilst with Jodie, it's very specific what episodes are good. Like, if I just to quickly blast through them, Series 11, I still think her first episode, Woman Who Fell to Earth, is really good. I feel like I'm in the minority on that. And then that's it for Series 11, to be honest. Rose is fine. I did think about Demons of the Punjab, but I rewatched that last week. Yeah, no, I didn't take to it this time. So really, it's just her opening Series 11 for me. Series 12, Spyfall, parts 1 and 2, Fugitive of Wigidoon, the Haunting of Villa Diodati, and the Cyberman 2-parter at the end. And then for Series 13 so far, the Santaran episode and the Weeping Angel episode.
Does Fugitive of the Jadoon stand out in particular because of just the shock factor of Ruth and Jack coming back finally after a million years?
Maybe. I mean, it also does do a lot of pandering to Russell's first era, doesn't it, when you think about it? Because you've got Jadoon, you've got Jack, you've got a chameleon arch and all of that, and it is beat for beat. Oh, we're going to redo things from Russell T's first era.
Obviously, it's, as we've said, it's Jodie's tenure has its dips and troughs and whatever.
Oh, yeah, but I know vicariously for you guys.
The writing this season is a bit more adventurous because they're trying to go for this big final storyline in it, and it's all connected, but it also gives room for you to expand on individual stuff like the Santarans. They did an episode of by themselves.
Well, again, I mentioned, I revisited Demons of the Punjab the other day. There's been a definite improvement in the writing from Series 11, let's just say that. But it's still nothing compared to what we had before.
We've said this, my favourite Doctor is Peter Capaldi, but not all of the writing in his area. Like, overall, I think it was fine. Like there are definitely some standouts in Peter's tenure. Like, but yeah, but like there were definitely
can't think of any.
no. Like I didn't want to, because we're talking about the 13th and Jodie and stuff. I didn't want to like
overshadow her with a male.
Well, didn't want to drag it out too much with that, but like, you know, there are definitely this season in particular. It feels like a lot more consistent, and there's overarching plot threads, and there's through lines. Whereas Jodie's first season, there were no returning monsters or villains or anything. It was just new stuff week to week, and it did feel like Power Rangers-y, if that makes any sense, where they had a monster of the week.
There wasn't a hook, and like I applaud them for trying to do something new and have entirely new concepts. Because once upon a time, that's all the Doctor Who was. It was just entirely new concepts in the first Doctor's run. But you know, you get to a point where you're 11 seasons in, and if your only hook is going to be, new Doctor, she's a woman this time, but we're not going to do any returning monsters. Well, I don't quite think that's enough. And season 11, I believe, will ultimately be forgotten about largely because there's no identification in there apart from the Doctor. There's no Daleks, no Cybermen, no Master, no Sontarans, nothing. I mean, a Dalek turns up in Resolution, but that's a special episode. That's not in the series proper. And, you know, I'm actually one of these days, I'm going to do an article on where the hell do the special episodes actually fit? In terms of, like, for example, Resolution. Let me ask you this now. Is it series 11 or is it series 12?
I would assume end of series 11.
Right, so my argument from a production standpoint, right, it's series 11 because series 11 aired around about this time in 2018. And it was the New Year's special that debuted like a couple of weeks after the finale of series 11. So you'd have thought it's series 11. And then the show didn't air again until exactly 1 year later.
Yep.
With Spyfall. So from a production standpoint, it would be series 11. However, the DVD box sets box it in as series 12.
Why?
David Tennant's first run, okay, came out Christmas Day 2005. 2005 was the year that Chris Eccleston's series was, so series 1. Is it series 1 or is it series 2?
Well, technically, it's the first episode of series 2 because it's his first episode fully.
But is it? But is it though?
Well, yeah.
But is it though?
Well, because that's the first. Because it's not an Eccleston Christmas special because Eccleston's not in it.
No.
First off, but I guess it's episode 0.
So again, like,
2.
from a production standpoint, it's series 2 because it was filmed alongside the series 2 stuff. But from like an airing standpoint, you can make the argument it's series 1 because it came out in 2005, as did series 1. Series 2 came out in 2006. In terms of the DVD box sets, it's boxed with series 2. In terms of BBC iPlayer, it's series 1. I'll throw another one at you. Last Christmas, is that series 8 or is that series 9? Now, from one point of view, I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe it was part of the series 8 production block. It, in terms of storylines, wraps up what was going on in series 8 because Danny Pink and Clara's grief over him is resolved in that special. But it's in the series 9 box set. And like, so which is it?
I also have this weird question, and I guess it changes from like episode to episode, of course, but what works better for you, Lawrence? Like, what feels better watching it? Watching it be the first episode of series whatever. Let's say an example, the first example. Does it for you work better as the first episode or the last episode?
It depends on the content of the episode.
All right, what was your first example that started it? It was
Resolution.
Resolution. Is that better start to series or a better end to the series?
I think it's better end. Because like it has stuff about Ryan's dad, which was seeded in series 11. Everything that happens in Resolution doesn't have anything to do with series 12, apart from, Resolution of the Daleks, but that's another special. That is very clearly series 12.
Mm-hmm.
So Resolution, Dalek stories like that. R's. Resolution for me turned into series 11.
Resolution, again, I agree with Lawrence. It sort of feels more like a tail end of season 11 type deal as opposed to, because it doesn't really set up anything. Revolution is like obviously a direct sequel to that special because the Dalek involved in Resolution does stuff in Revolution of the Daleks, but like other than that, other than retroactively, it doesn't really set up anything in season 12. Like Spyfall just sort of happens on its own, and then that leads to stuff with the Master later on in series 12. But no, yeah, I think Resolution works better as the sort of end point of 11, and then like you have Revolution later on, which is the end of, like, it's the sequel to that, but it's also at the end of season 12.
Let's throw another one at you. The Runaway Bride, Sir Catherine Tate's first ever episode
God.
alongside David Tennant. Is that series 2 or is it series 3? From a production standpoint, it's series 3 because it was filmed alongside series 3. And the new updated logo debuted with that episode, and that was from series 3 onwards. From a DVD box set point of view, it's series 3. However, from a narrative standpoint, it's more series 2 because it's following on from a cliffhanger on Doomsday where Donna appears in the TARDIS. And, Tennant's grief about losing Rose is still very, very prevalent in that episode. So, thoughts, feelings, justifications?
Well, no, I think it's, as you say, it's definitely because what I was going to say, but like you literally just took the words right out of my mouth. The Doctor is dealing with his grief over losing Rose because he can never see her again.
Voyage of the Damned, is it series 3 or is it series 4?
I mean, it's sort of fairly independent, isn't it? Because it doesn't really...
On this occasion, I would argue it's series 4. Usually in my headset is because the special should be attached to the series that preceded it. But I think in Voyage of the Damned's case, it's clearly series 4. Mm-hmm. Not least because the series 4 theme debuted with that episode, but also Wilf's in it.
Oh, yeah. Is that his first appearance?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, because then they bring it up again later, don't they? In the
And then, like, returning to the Runaway Bride, the thing that supports it being series 3, well, Harold Saxon is mentioned in it. But that was the mastery of Russell's writing because he would seed stuff so far in advance. Like Torch was first mentioned in Bad Wolf in the Weakest Link game.
It's interesting how the different eras feel, like writing wise. Because RTD, he'd brought it back from death. Like he did literally, like Doctor Who, like brand wise and everything was dead. Had been dead since like late 80s. And like the movie was supposed to bring it back, but it didn't. But like he's the one, like, and to give like full credit to RTD, he did bring it back. So A star. Gold blue Peter badge for him. No.
Well done.
But like, and that feels like a revival of a thing, and like, so his is sort of like the baseline, and then Moffat is like, what was his style? His style was like, let's hit you in the feelings, let's chuck like big moments at you,
innuendos everywhere.
Yeah. And then Chibnall is like,
Exposition.
yeah, because like other
Wow.
things for like Moffat though, because like Moffat's the thing that stands out in Moffat's era to me is like the 50th. No, will retcon's Moffat's thing, or is that more Chibnall's thing? Do you think?
Well, what do you mean exactly?
Well, like Gallifrey's surviving, and like the silent. Well, no, I'm trying to make my point clear.
It's okay. You can keep going.
It feels like he did retconny type stuff. No.
I suppose, in a way, you know, like bringing back the Time Lords and changing the outcome of the Time War. But Chibbers has kind of reset the status quo with that by bumping them all off again. So
Oh, yeah, and that's the other thing, and like we found annoying about it, like, because you remember in our video about the time as child, we talked about Matt Smith's regeneration sort of losing its meaning because he was given that more chance. Because if the Doctor is a character that can regenerate infinitely, then the conflict in Time and the Doctor is sort of rendered slightly meaningless by the fact that in that Christmas episode, he was given an extra chance by the Time Lords. Like, he was given a new cycle. Also, like, Chibnall's also undone, like, the 50th, because that was, like, such a huge moment.
you know what? I'm not that fussed about that, to be honest, because well, I like my Doctors to be survivors of the Time War, to be the last of the Time Lords. That's how I was introduced to him. That's how I want my Doctor to be.
Fair enough.
So if the Time Lords need to be offed again, you know what, I'm all for it.
But like, it's like I
Wow.
get that point.
Genocide.
The whole point of the 50th as well was that he could finally be hopeful. He could sort of let go of his guilt over like what he did in the Time War. But then Chibnall's just like, let's kill them all again. Let's make the Master evil again. Let's do that as well. Even though Missy's arc was like,
But who knows where Dwan's Master is?
That's what people are debating about, isn't it? Like, does he come before Missy? Like, is he after Missy? Like, we even like last week we had that conversation about what could have happened.
About Lumia, yeah.
Yeah, and we're like, ugh, sounds so confusing. Like all the juggling you have to do in your head.